Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the June 14th, 2024 meeting of the New Jersey Antique Radio Club here at Princeton University. Okay, here comes the question. Are there any new faces in the group? Oh, I see a new face.
New faces in the group.
Your face is new.
Hello, who are you?
Stand up and say your name.
Oh, my name? Oh.
Yeah.
Hi.
You're embarrassing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rosalinda Del Castillo, and I live in East Windsor, New Jersey. And Mr. Scott Marshall is my boyfriend.
Oh, we won't hold that against you.
Thanks for coming.
We'll show you in there.
All right, thank you.
You want to volunteer to work in the museum?
Thank you very much. Great. Okay, anybody else? No. Everybody else?
Bruce
We know
Springsteen did a
has
song
to be-
about it.
Huh?
Bruce Springsteen did a song.
What's that?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Rosalita.
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 You're not going to start singing, right?
No.
What are you talking about?
All right, infirmary report. Unfortunately, it's very long, but it's pretty good actually. All right, Dave Sika again is slowly recovering. He's working through his maladies, but he's been working hard. He put out the newsletter this month. Okay, we do appreciate that, Dave. You're out there, I hope, and we hope to see you very, very soon. Hopefully at a meeting. Okay. Robert Vanderlock, I should say, from one of our Canadian members. Okay, he had heart surgery a few months ago, and the report is he's doing very well. He's actually up and about and walking in Montreal, so that's a good thing. Heard that from Dan Gervais. So.
That's a good thing that SX28 too much.
Oh yeah. And who else we have? Frank in Florida, aka Frank Fesco. He had his gallbladder removed last week, I believe, and he's doing well. We saw him on the Zoom last night, so it's happy to see that. And he realizes he has to change some of his eating habits, but he understands that, so that's okay. And a recent malady is we had Joe Devonshire.
Can't you pronounce
I have his name right? Up in Maine, our DX member.
Upper US.
And he was going down his basement steps and took a tumble and he broke his wrist. Yep, do that. And he wasn't even carrying a boat anchor. Yeah, so those are 4 people and Dave, so that makes 5 people, but they are on the mend, so let's leave it at that. Okay? All right. Okay, on to old business. All right. On Wednesday, May 22nd, I attended the Wall Township High School Awards Ceremony and was very happy to present the winner of our New Jersey Antique Radio Club scholarship of $1,000 to a young woman named Keely Trainer. You can see the photos which are on the broadcaster, in the broadcaster, and there's a person sitting next to me. I really do appreciate that. Now, I spoke to Keely when I gave her the check, and she was very happy. And then I saw her later. They had a little reception afterwards, and she told me that she would be going to Princeton University to study engineering here.
Wow.
And I said, well, Keely, you know, we have meetings here, you got to stop by. And she said, I'll try. So it'd be great to see her here. That's right. Wonderful. I don't know what kind of engineering, but definitely engineering. So I already told Professor Mike about her, and he'll be keeping a lookout for her. Actually, you can't miss her. She's a tall, red-headed girl, bright red hair. Bright red hair. Oh, yeah.
She looked a little like Mike Richards's daughter, had bright red hair as well. I saw the pictures, I saw a little video, that was really neat.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
Cool. Very cool.
Which reminds me, everybody, read your broadcaster. Dave works hard to put that thing together, okay? There's a lot of information. A lot of people have asked me about this, that, and the other thing, and there it is, right in the broadcaster. So please read it.
That's as bad as the museum. Read the signs, we tell people. Then they ask about, you know.
I mean, the do not touch signs?
Those they don't read
I
either.
don't read those either.
See, there is a market for Hooked on Fox after all.
Okay, all right, that was all I had in old business. Let me just move on to new business. All right, as per our club constitution, at every 2 years, we are required to have elections for club officials. Our standing executive board members are me, the president, Vice President Sal Brazindi, Treasurer Harry Clancer, Trustee RTM Curator Ray Chase, Al Clays, Technical Coordinator, Trustee Communicator Monitor Bill Zakowski, and Trustee Dave Sika, who takes care of our website and the broadcaster. Now, we only have two executive board members, right, tonight?
Where are you?
Three, all right, three of us, right? All right, so I think everybody, put your hand up, I think everybody knows who you guys are, but if anybody was new to the club, they wouldn't know. Okay. All
Put
right.
your hand up, Bill.
All right, so, and I also left out our recording secretary, Marcia Simkin, and
Oh, yes.
former President Phil Vorchis, who is probably still in the Carolinas right now. Okay, now, every 2 years, there's an election, or there's a potential election. So if anybody would like to be against an incumbent and join the executive board, let me know between now and July, and we'll have a race, okay? Now, the good part about being on the executive board is you get a 401k, okay? Full dental, vacation, pension, okay? And for me, since I'm president, I get a used Fiat 500 to it's a convertible too.
But the top doesn't go up, right?
What's that?
The top doesn't go up?
No,
Doesn't go
it's just
down.
a slide.
Nothing.
Commissioner, are any of the positions open?
What's that?
Are any of the positions open, or are there any people that are not, that are on for another term?
Not that I know of. They are diehard people that enjoy the adventure.
Are there any term limits?
What's that?
Are there any term limits?
Yeah, no, turn on.
Death.
Don't say that.
That's
Seems to be the reality.
Supreme Court.
Not in this group.
Okay, moving right along after the jokes. Okay, Station W2 RTM will be participating in the ARRL Field Day, and that is on June 22nd and the 23rd. Antenna and camp setup is on Friday the 21st. Nev, travel down here and give us a review. Come on.
All right, we'll do this. So last year we had a great showing, and it'd be nice to have another great showing this year. In previous years, we've kind of gone for some points to see how far we could get, but you know, times change, and maybe this time this old soul will cooperate with us, and maybe we'll try some more bands and get some more folks on the air, like Rich, brand new ham here. And we'll get you behind a microphone, and whoever else wants to come down and get behind a microphone and have some fun. So I'm promising a chili dinner on Saturday night. Hopefully my cooking skills are any good. We shall see. So that's it.
Is that chili with meat or without meat?
We're going to do full Monty here on that one. Except I usually make no alarm chili, so you know you can spice it up as you like. Anyway, we'll have 2 stations on the air, and we'll just see how it goes. And we found some of the antenna bits from last year, and I took a load of stuff down last Wednesday. So if anybody wants to show up and help set the mess up on Friday evening, maybe late Friday afternoon, Friday evening. The contest starts at 2 o'clock on Saturday, so we'll show up maybe 10 or thereabouts, and finish the setup and haul the tables out and put up the canopies and all that kind of good stuff. And have at it for, it's supposedly 24 hours. We'll see how this goes, and have fun. So that's it, you know, come on out, help us celebrate Field Day.
What time
And,
Friday is
The contest starts at 2.
No, what time Friday is the setup? I'm sorry.
Whenever you want to show up.
Okay.
Because folks are, you know, there are some working slobs still in this group, you know, we got to accommodate them.
And what time are you thinking?
Oh, 4, something like that. We'll see how this all works out. So, all right, come on out Field Day.
You may have to move some furniture around too.
Okay.
Thank you. I will be bringing the magic brownies and the wine and ambiance, all right? And maybe I'll get on the mic also.
And the entertainment.
What's that?
Entertainment.
Yeah, that goes on the ambiance. Okay. All right, so as of this meeting, I am taking vendor reservations for our annual Hamfest Swap Meet Show on the grounds of beautiful Info Age. There's some flyers out on the table, and that is July 27th, guys, okay? Now, Harry, I did not mention to you, I'll mention to you right now, okay? I have a lot of people here that will boast for me that I'm telling you this. I don't even want to jinx us, but
Don't say it.
I know, but I have to say it, right? Look into the week, the Saturday after that, okay? Just in case. We haven't had it. We've never, all the time that we have had our swap meet, Hamfest, on the grounds of Info Age, right? Where the trees and the beautiful breezes off the Shark River, it has never, that stuff that comes out of the
No, one time it
Before the
started,
order.
11 in the morning.
One time it started, like right at the very end.
when we were leaving, yeah.
We were leaving.
Yeah, and I hope it to be the same way, all right? Just in case, just in case, okay? So you take care of that with Gloria, I'm sure we'll be all right.
Okay, by the way, you are aware that there is a summer camp there until Friday.
Yeah, I do. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, and we will be supplying you with bagels, free bagels, and free butter, and free cream cheese, but you gotta bring your own coffee. Right? And there's always somebody snarling about it, but I said, it's too bad, we're not operating the coffee machine, running them around, because I'm gonna be vending too. So,
What day is that?
the 27th, July 27th, Saturday. Yeah. It's been a great show, it's been growing every year, as a matter of fact.
What does the table cost again?
It's a space, okay, and the space is 25 for members, 30 for non-members, and there's a flyers, these guys got the flyers out there, and it's a space. Bring as many tables as you need. All right, it's not like what we're dealing with PAL where, you know, I think we're up to $285 an hour at PAL. So that's serious business there. Oh yeah. But at least with Info Age, we've got the space, so we utilize it, and we've got a couple of big vendors that come in, just fill the space up with tables and a lot of ham people. So it's really good. You got to show up.
Watch out for the airplane though, they get very upset if you damage their airplane.
Yeah. Walter doesn't know about that. He'll find out though.
Yeah, probably be the one. Can you bring your car into where your space is?
Well, you're vending, sure, absolutely.
That's what.
It's a tailgate.
Retail site,
It's a
yeah.
tailgate.
Yeah, okay.
I'll siphon the gas out and put it in my.
There's only tricks.
So I failed to mention something in the infirmary report. We have a friend of the club that passed away. His name was Pete Udo, Italian, and he was the brother-in-law of Dr. Forte. And he was a benefactor to our club. He had donated thousands of dollars to our club. I'll say it that way. I never met him. I perhaps some of the docents met him because he did come to the museum a few times years ago. And he was sick for quite a long time, and he passed away 2 weeks ago. And I just want to put it out there that, again, he was a benefactor to the club and a friend to the club. And he really appreciated what we were doing here. Because once he saw the museum, all of a sudden, Dr. Forte gave me a check. I said, what's that for? And he said, he really likes what we're doing. He wanted to give some money. So that was a good thing. So anyway, I just want to put that out there so you guys know that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Ham Shack one. Is there, you want anything to say?
Well, unfortunately, Paul Hart was going to be here and had something prepared. I don't have anything prepared, but we are actively beginning to seek volunteers both here and among visitors to the museum who are interested and somewhat knowledgeable.
Come on up, come on up, come on up. Come on up.
So,
You're not having a bad hair day, come on.
at least I have a hair day.
We don't want you to sit down.
That's your buddy too.
As I said, Paul Hart and I have been working on this. We, how can I put it? Unfortunately, our core of volunteers are have a lot of white hair if they have hair, and we are looking for a more mixed group of volunteers. We
It means young, that's code for young.
yeah.
Younger.
Younger. And we could use women too. We only have
Don't say it that way.
none right. Sorry. We have none right now, and that's really inappropriate. We have lots of situations where it would be much better if we had a more of a mixed group of volunteers. But the other thing is that people have always been asking us, well, if I don't want to be a docent in the museum, what else can I do? And we have come up with a list of 10 of the jobs that we actually do. We're going, I'm not ready, we're not ready to put this out yet, but the jobs are described and so on, and they are appropriate for lots of us. They're technical jobs, they're non-technical jobs, they're historical jobs, because it is a history museum too. We'll be looking for lots of people, like a dozen and a half or something like that. As I said, we're looking for people, not just people in the club, but people who have an interest in radio and in technology and in history, and and a willingness to work. And they can be docents, they can be non-docents, they can be technical experts, they can be history experts, they can be display builders, display designers, all sorts of things like that. So we will be publishing this and getting it started and advertising, but wanted to give you Paul wanted to give you a heads up, and he's not here. I'm here to give you a heads up.
Harry,
Yes.
are you reaching out to, let's say, local community colleges?
Well, we have done that, but we haven't done that in any organized way. And that is
I've-
part of what we're about.
And to do with, I'm sorry.
No, it's exactly what you're.
Yeah, I happened to talk to the Wall Township High School. I deal with them now for the last 2 years in their pre-engineering academy. Dr. Leonard, he's in charge. And I have a tentative meeting with them this month. Yeah, this month's almost over. Because I said, well, we would love to have somebody within your category of studies that maybe they'd like to be a docent for pay at our RTM, which, by the way, Wall Township High School is all of 2 miles away from InfoEdge, which is like a surprising. I get all sorts of looks at me when people don't realize where InfoEdge is, and it's in their own backyard. But anyway, I have a tentative agreement with him and her, his assistant, to talk about it. His assistant, Kelly, was really enthused about it. How we would work it out, I don't know, but I would work it out.
Can students get credit? I know there's something like they do some kind of work, you know, they can get something back.
Yeah, or study thing, but
We
that's up
have,
to them.
we have done a little of that with a few people, but it's not a major component, let's just say, at the moment.
But I want it to be paid, and I just gotta, we have to figure
We
out.
haven't figured out how to do that yet.
How much money would you need?
How much money would we need?
Yeah, if I brought somebody in.
Depends on how many students we can get.
I really don't know, it's something, I have to work that out with her.
Business plan.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that could work out.
Well, that's what I'm trying, yeah. Because like, you know, this is all coming to fruition now, it has to happen. And it's good PR, it gives a young person some money in their pocket, and something that they could be enthused about, and learn about, and spread the word.
They could also maybe get credit. I know that there's.
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about, but
yeah,
I don't
you
want to get involved in that.
That's
That's
a school issue.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a school issue.
Yeah, it's out of
And there are about 4 schools, not only Wall Township, there are about 3 other schools in the general area that have somewhat similar needs and capabilities, let's say.
Yeah.
So,
I've got the in with them right now, so that's where I'm going.
but that's one class of volunteers, but we also need a sort of more standard class. So it'll
What
be,
about the 25 miles?
what about the 25 miles?
Any member who's within 25 miles should be given some time.
Yeah, well, they should be?
Yeah, they should be.
You drive how far? 60 miles?
No, it's
80?
78 miles
78, okay.
to here, and it's 82 miles to Influence.
So it depends on how devoted you are to the museum, but in any event. By the way, you probably have all seen my little emails that you throw in the trash, Aaron, when you get them, complaining about the fact that we are now getting many more people than we used to get. We used to have afternoons that were quiet. We don't have very many quiet afternoons anymore.
Well, that's a good thing.
It's a very good thing, but that means that we have to have people to handle it. And we have to keep updating the displays and things as well.
Do people show up unannounced, or do they make a reservation to come?
We do not have reservations for small groups like the families and things like that. We have reservations for school groups, for Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, groups like that. But we don't have reservations. You know, if you're going to bring 2 kids, I mean, we're not going to force you to make
We get a lot of men's clubs from senior citizens.
men's clubs, etc.
How do you know if they're coming? You know, like let's say if you knew it was going to be a busy day.
But the answer is we just assume it's going to be a busy day, and most of them are getting to be that way.
Well, it's 2 people, it's usually 2 docents on duty.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna move along.
Right. Just wanted to tell you that's coming. We need you, and we need you to talk to your friends who might have some interest and would be close enough to actually participate.
Thank you.
Or else drive 80 miles.
82 miles.
82 miles, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. All right, Ham Shack Corner. All right, on Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, I attended the Barra Ham Fest, which is always Memorial Day weekend. And they also have it on Columbus Day weekend, those Saturdays. And it's held at Westwood High School. It was a great day, a lot of interesting stuff. And I met our April guest speaker, presenter, Chuck Perillo there. Chuck was saying, he really enjoyed giving his presentation to the club. We're a great bunch of guys, and that he was happy to see everybody had interest in what he was talking about. It was about Edison, early days of Edison. So he said, well, hey, your club, how can I join your club? Well, sure. How much? He said, $25. What, $25? He pulls money out of his pocket immediately.
Sure.
And I asked, he just filled out a paper with me and became a club member. So that's as easy as it can be.
Yeah.
But I'm always amazed by when people say, what, only $25? Yep, only $25.
Yeah, why are you saying?
Well, yeah. That's 3 lattes at Starbucks, isn't it?
You'll stop talking to me. $25 is a lot of money. Yeah, right? I would rob it. I bought cars for this. A lot of people in here did too.
All right, Omar had their Hamfest, I think it was June 2nd at Spring Lake, in Spring Lake. And I did not attend. Did anybody attend? I know it was small, it's usually small.
We were there.
Oh, you were? Okay,
Yeah.
how was it?
It was small, wasn't that many, wasn't
It was outdoors, there were a number of, I mean, a dozen tables, something like that.
15 tables at the
Was
most.
it in the back of the firehouse or something?
Yeah, it's
Coffee was weak, you know, the donuts were tiny.
Yeah, okay.
There was some vendors, they had some equipment, nothing really outstanding. I mean, there were a couple of guys with, like, one guy had an older Radio Shack, what was it, not one S120, but it was like a, you know, that vintage, vintage tube stuff.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was some computer junk, antennas. I think there was one guy they represented, there was one vendor, I think, had some MFJ stuff.
It's one vendor, yeah, and Jake's.
With the old guy, Gene Nimus?
Could be.
Little old guy.
It might have been. I don't know.
Because he's with us too.
You know, MFJ is, what's going on with them? Does anybody know? They going out of business?
They went out of
They
business.
went out of business.
So is that gone to catalog? You can't order anything from them anymore? That's
No.
it?
They're supposedly, allegedly, selling out whatever stock they have left. So it's like whatever they got left, and I don't know how long that's gonna hold up for. That's what I heard. Heard that from a Hammond.
Well, we heard it from John Cummer too, because he used to
John
deal with
Cummer,
them.
right,
He used to go
John
down,
mentioned
was it Louisiana? He used to deal with them down there,
Yeah, they just said they're going to stop making stuff on site. They didn't say they're going out of business.
yeah. Right. Well, they had,
Oh,
Did you say China?
well, they had Cushcraft, they had a bunch of other subsidiaries. I think they had to spin off or lose.
Yeah.
we had a pretty good inventory of stuff. I mean, a lot of it was questionable quality, but to just stop making it, you know, they had
Retired.
tours, they had all
There's
kinds of.
plenty of people that just retire and walk away from, away from the business, sell it. All right, all right, I don't know of any other Hamfests coming up, other than this one on the 27th of July.
No, there's got one coming up in June. You have the RVRC Hamfest at Piscataway, and that's 2 weeks from now.
Okay, that's what, actually, that's what I'm asking. What is the next one? I couldn't find it.
Is that the June or the July date?
Oh, it's in June. Let me.
Okay, that's the same day that Field Day
Our
is,
thing is, yeah.
right?
Oh, Field Day, which is next week.
It's June 29th.
Oh, 29th.
So it's the following.
29th is the RVRC Hamfest.
And what is the thing that you're doing, 27th?
No.
Did I
No.
No, that's in
July
July.
27th.
That's
That's July.
Sorry.
What is
That
Sussex?
shit, I'm sorry.
What is the Sussex show?
Sussex
Sussex,
is,
yeah.
I believe, the 16th of July. It's
It's
always like,
It's
you
a week
figure it out,
before.
always
It's always the highest day
It's
in
the
July. when
It's
they have
Sunday,
Sussex.
right?
It's
on Sunday.
Yeah, it's the 15th.
Yeah.
July
and
14th.
like Bob was saying, it's always the hottest Sunday in July.
Yeah.
You gotta bring your hat for sure.
You going up there, Bob? Sussex?
Oh, I'll be there.
Okay,
July 14th.
July
What I just
14th.
said.
Hey, that's Field Day.
Okay. All right, that's it for me. After a very short break, okay, we're going to have our sale of 50/50 tickets. Thank you very much, Rick and Darren.
Okay, sure. Oh, well, work, right?
Ah, yeah. Listen, outside, I wasn't sure until I saw Professor Mike. And what you see outside on the tables, okay, is a deacquisition of instruments that Princeton doesn't want anymore or use anymore. So they are up for grabs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And also, Bobby, you brought stuff?
I brought a bunch of stuff that came from a house clean out in Piscataway that my buddy did. And he just gave them to me, and I said, listen, he didn't want to see them get thrown in the garbage, so I just brought everything out. So toward the end of the table, the opposite end of the room, whatever's left on there is free.
Okay, great. All right, good. And the little
Except for the
coffee.
radio that I put up there.
And, yeah, that's not free. It's $35.
I have to say that because.
No, it's fine, that's fine, that's fine. And the little coffin box underneath is already spoken for. Jerry and Gordo wanted it, so, 'cause he's a big collector of general radio stuff, so. Okay, so, let's have the sale of 50/50 tickets, guys.
Okay.
And then we'll get on to our show and tell and Henson Kinks. And Darren, look what I have.
You know, I brought a new one.
An Easter basket for us?
I brought a new one too.
Oh, cool.
I brought a genuine long burger basket.
Oh, we want the longer burger.
It's in my truck.
What the hell is that?
All right, we'll use
It
that.
weighs about
That's an
5
expensive
pounds.
thing.
Yeah.
Where'd you get this? Dollar store? It's real.
Well, this is good. It's got plastic.
Yeah,
It's been a while since I done. We still same price?
Yes.
1 for 1 and 3 for 2?
3 for 2.
Who's first?
3 for 2.
50-50.
50-50. 1 for 1, 3 for 2.
It's never 1 for 1 except when Dave Siegel's here.
Yeah, we've had our moments.
You got it?
It's been a while. I guess I'm not good at this anymore.
That's
double price.
Never lose the touch.
I'm on a battery.
2 for 3, right?
11. It goes up from there. Me and Bob, Dave.
Keep this.
Dave gets 3.
3 you say? Okay. I'll go for 3 more because I'm optimistic. 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
50-50. Here we go. 50-50. Everybody in?
Shanghai me to doing it.
Well, that's the thing.
But I don't do it.
John, we're here.
It's not, I don't think.
Ready?
So
I guess he's doing maybe a day, but I don't know if he gets 3.
All right.
Basic electronics.
Oh, hey, look, that's a nice one. Inside of it, this is all.
Some people like going to detail. You know, I go into a pretty long.
You have a spiel that you go into.
I go like Armstrong, I go to
Yeah,
that.
Sarno.
And then we go into the TRF versus regen.
Yeah, the different types. You got stuff
You got me into it.
Yeah, well, you know what you got.
Crowd beat me into joining. Big and dosage.
Yeah, well, there's studies.
Yeah, we've had a few. We've had a few like that.
Actually, we had one last year.
Medium service?
No, it's almost community service, but it's not. They get credit. They do. But let me tell you, a couple of years ago, we had a guy who investigated that pretty thoroughly. And the issue you get is that the kids like the idea, the teachers like the idea, the administrators of the school are at least lukewarm or worse, ice cold. And if you don't get the administrators, it's hard to get anything
You
going.
gotta get the upper guys.
Yeah.
You well, I haven't seen you in years. How are you?
Whole spring when they were visiting schools and talking to the kids.
I'll buy one more.
And like I said, the kids like the idea.
All
The
teachers
teachers
need
like
it.
the idea. Administrators.
50-50.
What's that? That's a phonograph. That's the, yeah, I know, that's.
But Rich's approach is probably very good because he keeps keeping after one school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Start reason.
But this is ceramic cartridge, of course. Not magnetic. So the thing is that, and especially on Rummage, we've been inundated with these little nostalgia photographs with the name Crosby or sometimes Victrola stamped on them. And they come with these what we call P188s. little ceramic cartridges, actually. Low output, but what you can do, I've discovered, is you wanted to test this with the photograph, right? So, and you have to try to mount it somehow. Of course, these don't mount unless they are going into a custom sonar. So you can use rubber vinyl tubing. Cut a little segment of that, an inch of that, wrap it around, maybe glue it inside so that it's going to stick. And then it actually is just a push fit into the toner. That's my secret.
Thank you.
Okay.
It is, it's a kink.
I don't know, we spent 6 months getting the jukebox working again.
The last time.
Don't explain
You guys
themselves.
need a tent. I got an army tent.
Can't hurt
From the 50s.
Okay.
I got it from a friend of mine. It's sitting, I got to see this all together.
it. Okay.
And antenna mast. What kind of mast are you putting together?
We're pretty good about that. We've got those, they're actually camouflage poles. They come typically 4 foot. Where there was a guy selling a ham fest, and I bought a whole wad of them.
Okay.
They're very handy for holding stuff up.
I've got it's a mast. It comes in 2 pieces. It's sealed.
Okay.
They're bolted together. In the bottom there's a hinge, so it goes, you get
Okay.
a base and then you haul it
All
out.
right, well, that's good. You know, if you brought it last year, bring it again.
No, I gotta get my license. I am so busy with being married, you know, I never have time to do the things I enjoy doing.
Not only that, but not working anymore makes it worse because now you gotta do all those jobs you never had time to do before.
I'm stuck up in Wildwood City, you see me in the blacksmith shop banging away in Poplar. And I am looking for a job flying, so.
Oh, yeah.
Blacksmith, did you see the students were, there's a blacksmith club, they were just, I came in at about 5 o'clock today, they were pounding iron.
Wow.
Yep. They had these little tiny, they had these little tiny forges running propane.
Yeah. My guys use it. We're still up in Wildwood City, we're still using coal, which is fun. It's amazing how coal absorbs a lot of moisture and getting that sucker to work. You know, I'm taking old horseshoes and I'm making them into other things, you know. Stuff. It's fun.
It's here.
So all these years, you've
I used to work at East Jersey Old Town. We always had blacksmith reenactors, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. For some of the weekends. So he makes some pretty impressive stuff.
Like nails.
Well, we rebuilt a farm wagon from the 1880s, and they made we made the wood parts, but then they made the the metal stays on the inside and all that. So how is your situation these days? Are you still traveling in Switzerland?
So I'm not doing much this summer. We originally were going to go to Hawaii in August. My sister-in-law is turning 80. We decided we're flying the whole family to Hawaii.
Last call, 50-50.
In December. And then we're going to be there for a few weeks. And then my brother's running a course in Florence. So after we leave home.
All done, 50-50. Give it last call, 50-50. Last call. Last chance.
He teaches at the University of Hawaii.
I'm used to last call being 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Although I gotta tell you, we're down in like Bayville, and one of the bars in the water. One anymore. And a band, it was there. So the band played till 10. Not anymore. And that place closed up. I mean, they were closing up. I mean, back when we were kids, the good band came out at 10. Go find a 24-hour diner. I saw that.
He's in Florence right now, as a matter of fact. So that's, he said he's been, I've been in Princeton.
I love it. I spend them, I love to see young people's faces. You know what you normally get.
He's got this really nice deal.
Is that right?
That's a tradition. They consider it good luck.
Have a semester in different cities.
Spend enough time around, spend a lot of time around scrap yards.
It does Paris. He did this 2 years
Don't
ago.
be supplement waivers.
You have to apply for it. I think that it's perfect.
State sales, yeah.
So he's looking forward to it. So and then I just signed on, actually I have to
It is.
sign on the dotted line. I'm gonna be the lecturer on the Princeton Journeys trip in Canadian rock.
Well, I mean, with the estate sales and everything else, I mean, there's, it's a line, it's not a great trip.
Last year
Well, it never
on the
was.
Rhine.
Right, I remember that.
That's our specialty.
Yeah.
I mean, at the state sales.
How about you? Getting any traveling?
No, I mean, in the last, yeah, first of all, I don't do it for.
Yes, I would.
I only do it for pleasure.
I mean, I miss a lot of what I used to do.
So you miss what you did.
It's always.
And I still do repairs.
River Lake is
I got fixed an air conditioner today.
Or of course, yeah.
Hottest day all of a sudden.
So that was 70-yard motorcycle maintenance. Still go through River Lake. That's what they think of Oregon and they
It's an interesting place, in fact, in Oregon, because,
Why would I say?
the southern part of the Oregon, and, it's the deepest lake in the U.S., and, I think Baikal and,
You know, I have a license for
is deeper, but.
I have a license for animal license.
Oh, cool. It's landlocked, so it never changes.
Commercial drive.
The snow on the mountains. So it's clear blue, beautiful place. Very nice. But it's, by the way, it's about 20 miles from the only place in the U.S. where people were killed by detonating bombs during the Second World War.
I didn't know anybody else.
Where do I live?
They balloon,
I used to say.
put them in balloons,
I say.
and they came over. This was
Why?
Yeah,
Got a shot right there.
I miss.
First of all, that wasn't even.
Bombs from Japan.
They floated all the way.
Watch that, become a city, Texas, become a city.
The mountain that's fairly near.
Invasion.
There was some.
Orthodox Jews from
I think it was a steward out trekking and.
That's the place we fly from.
It is, but I hear it's a bunch of them.
For what it's worth, it was the only instance.
It was awful.
Oh,
Very
I'm
interesting.
sure.
Yeah, I do
Planes are not that well ventilated.
on that motorcycle trip. It was just from Minneapolis
Yeah.
to or maybe Sacramento.
They're very nice people.
Terminus. So they weren't still. Oh wow.
Flight's no fun anyway.
And then south.
Except private.
Yeah, my granddaughter was
You know,
apparently taken with national parks for some reason.
Okay.
So we.
There are worse things to get taken.
So we got her, and that was in national parks, and pointed out that we were gonna
What's that?
You have your symbol.
Yeah.
around years.
Yes.
Places,
We
they
got
got
ours
ours
for
in
$40 or something.
Down
Still
on
have
537.
life.
In fact, last year when we were at Crater Lake.
yeah, that's a pretty good junkyard.
Yeah, the Indians were running our little
So we're
screwy,
research.
but they still have that
Still have
stuff.
some crush it all.
Yeah, and then there's friendship down in Tabernacle.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, that was done well. What are you looking for?
My wife fell on her face.
What year is it?
Marion fell.
Yeah, probably got some.
Yeah,
That's
no, but
places,
it's sort of
it's
funny.
probably that stuff, that's all.
And when face first into the blueberry.
He's outside.
Our dog pulled Marion over and she landed right on her nose. To get Cadillac Mountain, you have to make reservations. It used to be.
Well, you know, and it's true. I mean, I go to the Adirondacks every year, and first times I went there back in the '60s, there turned out to be weekends where you didn't see anybody. And then after the first Earth Day,
Random places, you pick auto parts. North Hanover Township.
reservation to get anything.
What's that? North Hanover, yeah, North Hanover.
Great places, Mom.
Since you haven't seen me for
Not just Cadillac Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
The other places as well.
He's handing you money.
18 for yeah, this is like.
I borrowed money. This is 8 years, and I don't know if
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. It's nice that people want to go there.
Show and tell. It is a show. Unfortunately, it's actually king.
Yeah, so
Phonograph.
so we're not doing too much travel. We are flying.
They can shoot me down because I'm looking for feedback.
In December.
Oh, I've been doing that for
You
years.
get a little older, you have a little extra cash, you just.
Oh, yeah. Phone is a $2 bill? Wow.
We considered a couple of years.
Somebody must have a surplus.
In the Hawaii.
You know what they're worth? $2.
Pandemic came.
Right. So, besides my brother and my niece is out there, we have cousins out there. So when we take the family out there, they'll stay with relatives. Well, actually, for Owen and his partner, we'll put them in a hotel. Our daughter-in-law and our granddaughter probably stay with my niece.
This is for the winter.
We'll stay with my brother.
Yeah, it's 18 and 18.
It's nice, yeah. The only problem is we have to fly to Boeing. Boeing here.
Now. We've been doing that for years.
I know. Did you hear the Dreamliner? They had a problem.
I heard they have another problem.
Today's story.
Where's Friendlies?
We were out in Hawaii, right?
There?
2 days.
What's that?
Friendlies? Where?
Oh, Friendship.
Friendship.
Friendship Auto Records. They're down in Tabernacle. And I tell you something, there's another one that's down near Williamstown, and I can't remember the name of it.
So what happened is Boeing, I have a friend who's retired from Boeing, Lee Bertol. They outsourced one part of the assembly. They actually had a division, and then the division went private, and so they had a contractual arrangement with the division. North Carolina, South Carolina, I don't know where the division was, but Boeing has now taken it back in, or at least that's, and then I think the CEO has now resigned, they've got a new person in.
Here we go.
Did you hear their capsules stuck up there too?
I'm sorry?
Their capsules stuck at the ISS too.
It's stuck up there?
Right now it is because they're trying to figure out about how bad the leaks are. Helium leaks.
This is the second time.
Yeah, but this time it actually made it to space. Now they're like, oh crap, we have to get back.
We're shooting to do something.
They're just circling the drain.
You know, you don't remember the 727.
Did you bring the DeLorean?
I don't remember what.
727.
I've seen one before, but I've never flown it.
No, they dropped them because what happened was the way it was West Virginia.
I know that's the one that B.B. Cooper got out of, because that has that stairs in the back. Yeah.
All right, folks, listen up. A grand total this evening. Grand total. $18
Whoa.
to the winner.
Hey, that's 18 whole dollars.
Whole dollars.
Yeah. Nope.
None of
No
those.
pennies, no quarters.
And none of those phony $2 bills either.
Nope. None of that. Well, maybe one, but.
Okay, so we got to find somewhere to pick it. You know.
It's the $3 bills that worry me.
You know where this comes from.
I didn't, Rich, Richard, Rich, oh, yeah, he's gonna be.
Oh. And $50.
Would you like to pick the golden ticket?
Oh, yeah.
He's floating around.
Maybe that's what I got.
There's one guy who brings one explosive and wind up in circular.
Winning ticket is. The winning ticket is 4, 1, 3, 1, 7, 3,
Back in.
7.
737.
737.
737?
Captain.
Yeah.
737.
There it is.
An aircraft.
Pilot.
Oh, they missed it by 15.
Yes?
Yes, I kid you not. Trust.
You stay with these guys? You think? Yeah, I think we're using it.
738.
All right, Captain John Messina has donated the $18 back to New Jersey Integration. And he won with a ticket that said 737, and I believe that is an aircraft, and
I believe that's an
he
aircraft.
is a captain, so.
Ah.
You got it?
New Jersey Antique Radio Club thanks you.
Okay.
You get a free visit to the museum.
All right, so
Is that the real
let's
books?
get
and that's
started
the
on our
cookbooks?
hints and kinks show and tell. Professor Mike, would you like to start off? Is this yours?
That's fine. Neville has it.
No, I'm last.
Your last? Yeah, it has to be last. Okay.
Sure, it'll just take me a second to get the.
Come on down. You're the first contestant.
So let's see, I have to get the screen on. Projector.
Screen.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay, hang on a second.
Sorry about that.
German spy radio.
All right, where's the mouse?
Okay.
Is that you?
Okay, see that?
No, no.
Why is it?
Yeah, I just saw it.
Let's go.
There we go.
Okay, so this is,
Guys, shut up.
I have to do a shout out to Bob Bennett back there.
It's all my fault, Mike. I'm
It's
very
all your
sorry.
fault. So I had this oscilloscope, I did a presentation, was it in February or something like
Yes,
that?
it's always.
And I used this oscilloscope, and Bob said, taught me something about my oscilloscope. So it's an HP scope. It's a model 546038, and he said that there was this nice feature that was hidden in it. So I looked it up, and let's see if I hit Print Utilities, and then I hit these two buttons at the bottom here. It brings up the game Tetris.
That's awesome.
They did it with the HP.
Yeah, so
That's awesome.
So who knew? This is great.
Was it in the owner's manual?
You play that game.
That's awesome.
So it's on the beginner level. My score is now 5.
You think I taught something useful about scope?
So was this a feature that HP built in?
You have to ask Bob.
To wear the buttons out faster on the scope?
Okay.
Is that
From what I've
They call this an Easter egg, yes?
I found this on the web, and then I shared this information with Mike. But what I understand is that the engineers over at HP like to have a little bit of fun.
Yep.
So the guys that wrote the code for the scope actually put this in it, and that's you can find this information on the web about this scope. So I literally have, this is my scope that I use at home maybe about 3 times a year. That's why.
Yeah, they call it an Easter egg, right? So that's.
Was this in the owner's manual for the scope?
No.
You gotta rotate.
I wouldn't think so.
What, have you never played it? Oh my god.
And
That's from
So
Russia.
it's just the code guys
I stopped
at HP having
video
some
games.
fun.
in olden times, when
This was
HP
like 4
35,
years
HP
later.
45 calculators came out, the HP 45 had something, not this, elaborate, but had something like it.
Sergey Brin.
Oh, I remember.
So they must have been doing this now for the last 50 years, right? 7 years.
Okay, so that's the end of mine.
Turn my calculator upside down so it would say Shell Oil.
Yeah,
Next.
That's it.
I'll see what the Germans do. Hey, Mike.
Spy radio.
What about
the spy radio?
that's his
Hey, Mike.
presentation.
What about that previous picture?
Well, the spy.
That's not his.
That was spy radio.
That's cool as a teaser. That is a teaser, that's funny.
Well, you can't see a spy radio. All right, so we're going to start from there and work our way over. All right.
Okay.
Who is this? Me. Who's me?
JR.
Okay.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised?
These are no, I'm surprised it came out of the basement.
Yeah.
Black hole, you know.
Well, moving towards the center, the light is better. Not here.
Yeah, well, they got
I didn't bring a flashlight, but I think I can use it.
You want light, John?
Not. And,
I've got one if you need it.
losing tickets.
Yeah.
And
You're winning with
and I got notes. I took it's renewal by Anderson. But see, I repurposed it for.
Show you the window.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Is there a laser pointer on that too?
It's got a USB port on the back, you can recharge that thing.
Cool.
Thanks, Bob. That's a big help. Anyway,
Well, I know what to get you for Christmas now.
this is a homebrew ham receiver. Looks to be late 40s. Similar to something I found in the 1949 ARRL handbook, but I don't think it's the same receiver. It's got a very nice Millen dial. I don't know if some of you may not be familiar with Millen. He was one of the founders of the National Company that made the HROs and all that. And then later he went out on his own and he had his own company, not as successful as National, but they were around for a long time and made stuff like made dials and other pieces of equipment. It's some interesting corks. I'll make this quick. I know we got a lot of stuff here, but some interesting quirks. It has no on-off switch, so you plug it in and off it goes.
On it goes.
On it goes. And, like I said, we were better off without you. As I don't know if you noticed, it has RF and AF gain controls. They go up to 18, so Spinal Tap would have been really happy with this. I don't understand that calibration. I brought it up on a Variac, and it does work. The BFO doesn't work for some reason. I think this is the switch to turn the BFO on and off. And it has a noise limiter. I think it sort of works. Let me just show you underneath here real quick. Then we'll get to where our hero screwed up. Some of you may have noticed it. Our hero meaning whoever the guy was. So you got a lot of Black Beauty capacitors, some modern components here.
You sure this is not professional stuff?
No, I think this is a good, hand. Laid out really nice. He used. I didn't bother to bring the power cord. This is another quirk that it has because the pins. If you unplug the power cord, of course, the pins are hot with 120 volts. This is handy. So yeah, that's most Black Beauty. What else? It's nice lighted coils. It has coils for, I believe it's 80 meters in there. It doesn't look like a lot of turns for 80. It's either 80 or 40, and I have another set of coils that are for either 10 or 15. Now, here's where, as good as this is, this guy the builder kind of messed up. He kind of screwed himself. How did he do that? Those coils are much too close to these shield partitions, and they're sucking out the energy from these coils. And so the rule of thumb is that the coils should be at least the diameter of the coil form away from any metal shield. It would be interesting to take these off and see if reception improves. I haven't done that, but I might. Let's see if there was anything else here I wanted to tell you about. I told you about the rule of thumb, yeah. About 1.5 inches or so, they should be away from it.
What circuit do you think it is, John?
Like I said, 49 handbook has something similar. Oh, it also has this guy was probably a serious CW guy. It has no audio output stage. It only drives high impedance headphones off the, detector first audio stage. There's no 6V6 or 6K6. This is the power transformer. This is a filter choke. And voltage regulator tube. And there is a radio in the 49 ARL handbook that uses the same dial and is similar in appearance. Doesn't have all this, which I don't think that did him any good. Anyway, that's about it. Any questions?
How well does it work?
It's okay, but not great. And I wonder if this is one of the reasons. Well, that's what fascinates me about any homebrew, Bill. Every homebrew. Homebrews fascinate me. Did it ever work well enough to satisfy the builder?
No, never does. It didn't make a landfill.
I should put in a plug. This came from a J&D auction. $5, nobody wanted it, so I bought it.
You know why? What about, is that a BFO?
Yes, this is the BFO. Just BFO doesn't seem to work. I assume this is the BFO switch. But the BFO, I did pick up some CW on whatever that is, 80 or 40, and I couldn't get the BFO. And there's also a 1/4-inch mystery jack on the back. The jack on the front for the headphones, I don't know what that jack does, so don't ask. But I'll figure it out.
So what, like 6 tubes without power supply?
Let's see. How about this 6XQ7? Wait a minute, look at this. That's kind of a latter day.
Yeah.
That's like 80s or something. I don't know, 70s. But anyway, where did that go? Oh yeah,
Pretty cool.
So that's somebody, excellent effort, but.
John, is that a superhead?
Yes, yeah, it is. It's I didn't determine I think it's 455. It's got mill and IF trans. It looks like it has 2 stages of IF and a BFO, and a voltage regulator, rectifier, and
So there's an RF coil, an oscillator coil, and an antenna coil.
I think one would be for the RF stage, one oscillator, and the other, yeah.
What's the variable on the bottom?
What?
The variables in the bottom?
Oh yeah, here I'll show you. It has this big. It's actually like 3 capacitors connected by couplers.
So
that's small capacitors, small variable.
Well, yeah, because I guess it's a tight, bandwidth.
Yeah,
it's not a general coverage receiver.
Yeah, right.
It's not. I don't mean bandwidth, but a tight frequency coverage. It's not, and it's got a modern electrolytic there, so.
Turn it this way.
John, what do you say about the headset? You say that they're high P's?
Yeah, high Z headphones.
So you got high voltage going through the headset?
I didn't check that either accidentally or intentionally, but I plugged in my 2,000 ohm Language Lab Ream headphones, and it sounded pretty good.
Okay.
But I don't think so. There's probably a blocking capacitor. Oh, it looks like it's also a headphone jack on the back. They're like in parallel. Let me see.
Maybe one's for a speaker.
Yeah, I think there's a.
You point it at the camera, the bottom.
Oh.
I don't know if you can actually see it, but.
Anyway, that's about it. Fascinating stuff. I think somebody was probably disappointed though when they got done.
Thank you, John. Could you put it back there?
Yeah,
Very cool. All right, who's got the AK? Is that the AK?
That's me. It's an interesting radio.
Would you like to bring it center stage?
Yes,
Actually, I
please.
got 2 computers, so that's the same. Actually, this is kind of a ruse I was going to talk about for those who are married or you have a partner that doesn't really partake your interest in radios and doesn't want any more in the house. How to sneak them in without her finding out. Just kidding.
You know it's on YouTube, John.
Yeah, well, fortunately, she doesn't watch YouTube. I'll find out tonight when I go home.
We'll send her the list.
I'll be sleeping with the Great Dane. No, we've had a lot of nice AKs come through, and you know, it's nice and other people got it. I was in Kutztown, and this one showed up, and this guy was like almost giving away stuff. And so this is a 545. I haven't tested it or tried it. You know, it's just as you see it.
Cut the cord.
It's complete. I don't understand why they have this wire here, other than maybe they hung it up like a picture. You know, I don't know.
Where would you get the cable? If you hung it on the wall, how would you get to the line?
They might have had like an electric clock outlet.
You know, there's a newer wire here that looks suspicious that, you know, it's plastic and has two ends. I don't know if that was to another speaker or what the deal was, but it's fairly clean.
Yeah.
You know, it's fairly clean. It's original. So it's never been here before, obviously. It just came from Kutztown. And this thing here, this is a Hallicrafters. This little box here. It's a CA2. CA2. You're probably going, what the heck is that? All right. Well, before Rich was saying, you know, I'm a professional pilot and I fly. This is an aircraft receiver. But it goes so far back, probably the 30s and 40s, before VORs, if you know what I'm talking about. It is when they had the radio ranges. And it also has little, it's, you only had 4 airways on it, and you went deaf listening to the A or the N, you know, it did and you had, if you were on the beacon, it would merge, and you had this tone that you heard for hours on end.
You wrote the tone.
So you rode the tone, and a lot of guys, well, the old timers are gone now, but they were like, what? Huh? It wasn't from the radial engines, it was from listening to this thing. And this is a little transmitter too, it's on AM from back in the day. So
did you use that while you're flying your Gulfstream?
My Gulfstream.
What's
my
power,
God.
What's its power need? What's it need? 12 volts, 28 volts, what is it?
Probably 6.
6.
I think this one is 6. I gotta find out more information about it. But this is the only, I have other radios that have pictures of airplanes on it, they get the aircraft frequency.
Is it light?
Is it light?
Is that
12
like
to 13 and
Yeah,
75.
of course light.
Essential Carlson that you see around?
This is 2.
No, you see a lot of these little Setchell Carlson beacon receivers.
Yeah, that's the one you
Okay.
see the most of. You don't see
Is
that
that similar,
Application.
I never even knew Hallicrafters made anything for aircraft.
I didn't get it.
So I have to find more information about it. But it's-
Sky phone, CA2.
What's
See,
inside? I'm sorry, what's the tube complement?
I haven't really pulled it out. There's a plug for the power. Now it has a separate speaker. It's not built in.
Right.
Yeah. So
12BE6, 12BA6, 12AT6, 6J5, 6V6,
Yeah.
6X5.
Yeah. I don't think you can find any STs tubes in here. You know, these.
So that puts it in the 30s.
That's post.
No,
That's post.
1947.
Did you say 6X4?
No, but he said 12 VA6 and stuff like that.
6X5.
It might have been just before the war.
1946, 1947.
Late
Yeah, post.
How about that?
post-war.
Hey, you said CA2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Just post-war.
Who likes 6X4s? Anybody?
12 to 13 and 75 volts.
Yeah. Model CA2.
3 watts.
Or is that a 7? Oh,
Does
God.
that have a separate power supply somewhere for it?
Vibrator, 12 volt.
That's a crystal control transmitter.
Yeah.
It says transmit.
CA2. I don't know. You're welcome to come up and take a look at it.
It says on here it's a transmit too.
But it's just one of those things.
Transmit only?
Okay, guys, moving right along. Next.
Oh, day off. Got a bag of tricks. Yeah, that's Dean Martin's drink.
I forgot. I remember the return of the flash.
You got the flash.
That's in there.
Usually after our radio contest that we have, I start looking for another radio to see what I'm going to use for next year. And I like to start early because it takes me like a year to figure out how it works. So I went on eBay, believe it or not, and I picked this radio up for $45, and it's on the Nuts and Bolts 2015. It was built by the, I think his name was Richard Whipple. If anybody that knows Nuts and Bolts probably knows the guy. And this was the radio he built that's on the cover here. This is the exact one. So it's an AM radio, and I haven't gotten around to it. It's a regen, and I was always wondering what this is, but this is like an amplifier for the speaker that he put in there. But he did a really nice job, as you can see, with the spider web and everything. So I had to spend $12 just to get the magazine to match it.
More for the magazine than you did for the radio.
Just, and that's it. That's it.
You hold that up.
Does it work?
Yeah, it works. It works. It works.
How old is this substitute? How long ago did you make it?
2015, and it was in the magazine.
In the magazine.
Yeah, and he gave me the power supply with it. Not a bad power supply. So.
Can you show it up on the camera a little bit closer?
Oh yeah, sure.
These people or promote.
Yeah, it's a cool.
How's that?
A little bit closer. And up. Up. There you go. Perfect. Thanks.
How's that?
Perfect.
So the low voltage in the plate?
Huh? It's a 12AU17. That's all.
You work on 12 volts on the plate, huh?
Yes. Just a few volts is all you regen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got 150 volts on the plate.
All right.
Can you
Why
get
does some don't work with one? But they would.
That's pretty good. Yeah, camera shot right from here.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, I'm good, okay. All right, let me skip.
I mean, closer the better, but you're in the frame.
Was it a trial?
All right, boys and girls, it's me.
Pay attention.
All right, now I've got two things in this box. I have a show and tell, and I have a tip. Which one you want to hear first?
Tip.
Want the tip? All right,
Show and tell.
we'll do the tip. Now, sometimes when you're working on stuff and sometimes you get burned on things like, well, so, yeah, a soldering iron, right? You put your hand on there, or you put it in your ear to get the wax out. Resistors can be fickle, especially carbon resistors. You can have, say, a 1K resistor, put your ohm meter on it, get close to 1,000 ohms. All right, it's probably pretty good. But what the heck is it going to do when it's running in your radio or device or wherever this thing happens to be in? And then your radio or wherever the device is still is fickle. What I learned is, and I went to do this, I have a little gadget here. This is a genuine, horrible freight, $25 laser temperature reader. Take one of these guys. Now, I just bought this because it was cheap and dirty, and I was trying to figure out a problem, and it actually showed me that I had a bad overheating resistor. Once I changed it, life was good again.
Wow. Yeah.
So this actually has a switch on here where you could turn the laser on and off and everything. So this, these are, if you don't want, unless you want to pull your hair out and go around like Yul Brenner, pick one of these guys up because this could help you in the end.
You can also use it
as
a pointer too.
What's that?
You throw hair on that baby?
Well, I don't know if you can hold you get it, find the bolt spot in the back, you can hold the mirror.
I'll give it a shot. It's Harbor Freight, huh?
Horrible freight.
Works better than a finger like on the part, right?
Well, unless you want to have like disfigured fingers and you walk around, you look kind of funny.
Yeah, that's called the ouchie test.
The ouchie test? Thank you, Scott. The ouchie test. I gotta remember that.
Spit on it.
Actual thing happened to me yesterday morning. Now, in my house, I'll be brief. My wife and I get up. I usually get up first. Don't ask me why. I just do. And then my wife will get up and plug in the coffee pot, take a shower, and then we kind of get our day together. While she's doing that, the coffee pot is done. I start drinking coffee and I go on the web. I check my emails and things. And one of the things I get is from 4 different outfits are auction things. So I think it's auctionsales.net is my favorite one. I usually look at that one first. And it's done geographically to your area. I found literally an auction on the opposite side of Dunellen where I live. Now Dunellen, if you've ever been there, it's only 1 square mile. It's tiny, it's a postage stamp compared to most towns. So now I get excited. I said to my wife Sharon, hey, there's an auction literally on the side of town and it's gonna open up at 10 o'clock this morning. Do you want to go? And my wife said, all right. It was just something different, you know, a little change of place. Get in my car, we drive over there. We got there, it started at 10, and we got there at 10 after 10, and it was a circus. There's cops with traffic, and it could, well, they're doing road construction, and I think they're putting in new water pipe or something, and it was just a mess. So it took me like 5 minutes just to get my wife to the building, because there's nowhere to park. Right. So I said, all right, look, I'll just drop you off and I'll park my car, you know, in Plainfield or something, and I'll come back and you'll see me. Then my car will be gone, right? Anyhow, long and short of it was, my wife I knew was in the house. I took the, you know, half-mile walk back to the house, and I'm walking around, and there was stuff outside. Typical estate sale, okay? So now, before I show you this, I want to share something with you. I've been trying to do certain things in the hobby that are outside my comfort zone. So about a little over a year ago, well actually probably about a year and a half ago, if you watch my YouTube channel, I showed a picture of a Philco Bing Crosby like we have in the museum. It's the 78, you slide in there, closer. Oh, yeah. I finally worked out everything in one of them and I got it working really, really well. Wow. So I was really kind of proud of myself. You know, one of these, all right, I figured it all out. Because some parts you can't get anymore. You can't get the cartridge anymore. There used to be a company that sold them. Voice and Music, I think, is a popular website for it, right, Darren?
Yeah, they have cartridges, but the number of cartridges.
And Paul, I'm sorry, I should give Paul some credit, because Paul was helping me out on this. And I think Paul even contacted Voice and Music. They didn't have it. So what I had to do was to solve the problem for that. Well, let me just go on. I'm babbling now. What's in here was something I wasn't looking for. But when I found it, I just was blown away. And I wish Phil Versus was here tonight. But in this box, I have here Chopin Nocturnes. Okay. In the box, RCA Victor. 45s, and the 45s from 1949. That's cool. So I was blown away by this, and there's boxes of these things in here. Here's a ballet. I have no idea. I'm not an opera guy. I wish Al was here. He could probably help me out with this. But this stuff like this. Here's Symphony No. 7 in A by Arturo Toscanini. I mean, Sarnoff was a big classical music guy. So that's why they had
Toscanini.
Yes. So, and I have more. I mean, I can pull all these out and show them to you. I think there's a total of 9 boxes. That is Leopold Stokowski. So every one of these are red. Now, in my research, I found that, first of all, RCA, I wish Phil was here. RCA only made these colored discs, I believe, for 1 year, and that was 49. Then their focus was LPs. So the red ones are the most common, but to find them in the original box, there's liner notes on the bottom. And I know it's going to sound a little silly and stupid, but the thing that impressed the heck out of me was, now some of these are like 3-disc sets, some of these are 5-disc sets. But when you look at side 1, side 2, side 3, when you flip them over, so imagine now I just did a 45 EY2 RCA player, and I did for somebody, and then I was so impressed with that, I bought one at the JD auction a couple months ago. Yeah. So I already have a new idler wheel. I'm going to put a new cartridge on. I'm going to go through the whole thing and keep that for myself. So when you stack these things up and then change, so they go through the 3, 4, 5, you take the whole stack and flip them over, and it'll be perfect. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's right. Makes sense. That's right.
I was blown away by that attention to detail because this is all new to me. So I figured I'd share that with everybody.
Is that with LPs?
The original intent.
Now, if you go on now, just for giggles, if you go on eBay and you start looking for this stuff, you'll find boxes like this, but they're missing the liner notes, or they're missing individual records. Every one of these is complete except for Carmen. Carmen's missing one record.
No, that's the good one, too.
Yeah.
That's the one we all know.
She must have been really good, so someone snuck one of them out.
That's very
The original intent was they would make different colors for each genre.
Right,
Classic
for
would
what,
be red.
they had yellow
Yeah,
for
yeah.
country and
Right,
green
right.
with something else and blue. It came in 4 colors.
Classic was red.
But the red is the most common.
That's classical.
So I couldn't help myself. So between this stuff, oh, and I also picked up a 33 1/3 long playing record for $2. They had the Ventures. Remember the Ventures?
Sure.
Yes. So they had the one song in there that I really like, where it's like you're watching a movie where you see these 2 cars lining up for a drag race, and they start playing that one Venture song. I forget the name of it. So I got that out. I got all this, and my wife got like 3 or 4 things. I got it all for $45.
Home by noon.
Yeah, and these things are going for $20, $25 a piece in the box. So I thought that was really cool. So that's it.
Thank you, Bobby.
That's cool.
Okay, I'll just move Bobby over a little bit. And then we have what's hiding behind Bobby. Who is this?
Oh, that's me.
Oh, but you want to be last, right?
That's all right, I'll go now.
No, you go last. But you always go last. The bag is also yours?
No, that's just a hint.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Hemp sandwich?
That's lunch.
Share.
Remember me, I'm Walt. I was sort of on a hiatus for a couple of years from the club, but now I've seen the light, and I thought I would like to come back and see all your smiling faces and share the wealth of knowledge.
Wait.
What?
Could we have a vote right now?
Oh, no.
Walter to come back to the club.
Yeah,
Show of hands. Okay, guys, you can proceed.
I proceed.
Please proceed.
This is a detail. Now, electronically speaking, there's something missing here. I imagine you say, what is this? A tissue box?
We all miss those tissue boxes of yours.
Right? So I thought, bottom line is, when you're working in the shop and you're working on somebody's radio and you got to take parts out, where do you put them? Well, you can put them on the bench and then the tubes roll off the floor, and guess what happens, right? You got to put them in something. So you got an ashtray, maybe you throw stuff in there, or maybe, I don't know, you're smart, you've got a big dish, you can put. I found over time that the cheapest method to put my junk into things that I could organize was to take tissue boxes as we use them up, save them in a corner of the basement where I'm allowed to be, and then ultimately turn these into receptacles. I'm going to show you right now, as simple as it is, how you do this. Take one that's empty, not a full one, right?
All right.
Now you notice on the front, the business end of the Kleenex box, you can reach in and you can do stuff. But this is not really as easy to get into as it should be, right?
Like that.
You take your handy dandy tool. This is, one of these things you can use to cut stuff with. And what you do essentially is take one corner and cut, and then switch it to another corner and cut again, right? And then the third corner, you cut that one, right? And then you see what I'm getting to. I cut the fourth corner. Okay, I got 4 corners cut. Very simple. I put my scissors down, and now you see what I can do. I've got flaps now, right? Everybody sees that.
Yeah.
But here's the trick. You take your famous swing line stapler. Everybody's got a swing line stapler from work, right?
Of course.
Never brought it back, right? And the red one was the one you wanted. Remember that movie where the guy's got that red swing line stapler? Office Space, I think that was what it was called. So here's your trick. Now here's the trick I do. So to staple one end of this flap, take your stapler and do what I would call the business end, which is the smooth side.
Yeah.
That's going to be on the inside. And I'll tell you why in a second. So 1 and 2, right? I turn it 90 degrees and I get, I throw it on the floor. Where am I? Okay, now I'm getting this other one here, right? Do that one, right? Now I rotate another 90 degrees. I push this in, and you can see how easy it is.
I see a pattern here.
Right? And then one more and one more. And what I've got now essentially is
Failure to
failure to and ultimately what you do essentially is you throw your stuff in here, you leave it on the box. Sometimes I write things on them, you know, like whose radio it is or where it came from or what's inside. And then over time, as you start to accumulate more junk, these are very easy to stack because, you know, you can size them up. Or if you take a bunch of them, you can staple them together and create like a toolbox of these guys side by side, like a big matrix, right? And you can put all kinds of parts in them, and you can carry it to a clinic, which we might have someday, or you can just bring it around the house. You want to show off how smart you are, and you got all your parts in a box. Or like me, I could show you a picture at home of like jillions of these boxes all over the place, you know, with all kinds of parts that I'm never going to find. So the bottom line is, you can take something that's free, basically, and turn it into something really useful, and you'll see over time that, you know, right?
Yeah.
Questions?
You have a premium. You have a premium infomercial.
I use the scented tissues are the best.
Tissues,
Yeah,
okay.
The ones that are smooth on the nose, you know, that kind of thing, right? For Kleenex season, right?
What Walter is not talking about is years gone by when he was young. Okay, he used to make radios out of these boxes.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Or testicles.
That's another thing. We'll come back.
That was cigar boxes already.
Yeah, you know, the cardboard, I gotta tell you, when we were kids, you know, when they gave you maybe a crayon and a scissor with blunt edges, you know, it's the only thing you were allowed to do was make stuff out of cardboard and Elmer's glue.
The
Right?
construction paper.
The construction paper, you got that, or maybe a Page's paste. Remember, you could eat that.
Oh, yeah.
And you had friends. It was really delicious stuff. I don't even think they sell the Pages anymore. Kids are addicted to all this shit, you know, so they won't let you have any of it because it's bad for you.
Carcinogenic.
Well, it probably was good because that's how we know. You know, we're all this age now. We all ate this stuff. You know,
Yeah, but
That's why we
something was
are.
good, right?
Look how
Too
you
much
turned
paste.
out.
So anyway, that's what I was going to show you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for that time.
Sam, where are you? There you are. Okay.
Make this brief as I
Oh, it's the
can.
best.
Big one.
Bob, if you want to play one of those discs, I think we have the apparatus here to do it. But we'll leave that for later, maybe post-event. So I do, just by way of introduction, I am involved in a rummage sale in Far Hills, spring and fall. They do quite well. They made over $900,000.
900,000?
900,000 in 3 days.
Wow.
This past spring.
It's a lot of money.
And in the electronics area, we, over the last 15 years or so, there've been a number of things that come in and they don't work. And a lot of times I don't have time in the span of a month before that to fix them up. So they come home with me. I've got a wall full of phonographs and turntables, and over the winter, that's where you'll find me. This is actually one of the world's worst turntables. It's not so much the mechanical part, it's the fact that the big portable phono comes in a cardboard box, much like the box. A little sturdier, but not great build quality on that. And it's got a handle on it, but it's got no feet, so it doesn't actually stand up if you try to stand it up. Plus, the lid is on hinges that basically break the cardboard in back, which is why it's propped open with another piece of cardboard. Well, like I say, it's like a little child. You know, you take pity on it, you give it a good home for 10 years or so, and you finally say it's time to head out in the world, and maybe we can sell this for $25 if it's working. The innovation that I just came up with a couple days ago, and I'm curious to run it by you and see if anybody's got feedback. In this case, the cartridge and stylus weren't delivering anything. And to replace the ceramic cartridge would cost $30 or more usually to try to get new old stock on that.
No.
Yeah, discount. Well, the thing is that we also at Rummage, we get a bunch of little, what they call now, nostalgia turntables.
Right.
Phonographs. They'll have names on them like Crosley or Victrola. They're fairly popular, low end though, really low build quality. But they use a ceramic cartridge called a P188, which is, this is one of them right here. And it's a ceramic cartridge, fairly low voltage output. But my question is, and since I hadn't done this too much, I just wanted to know if I could retrofit with this. The answer is yes. The question is, how do you test it? How do you actually mount the cartridge into the tone arm?
Well, here's my wife's.
And now here we're going to get some. You've done this before, perhaps. My innovation, and I'll be very quick with it, is to take a piece of vinyl tubing, clear vinyl tubing, 1/2" OD, 3/8 ID, and got a ballpoint pen through the middle here, which makes it easier to make a precise cut. Cut about 1 inch of that, and take a little bit of the material away, so you're left with a kind of a U-shaped clip made of vinyl. And you can basically take your cartridge and you clip it onto the cartridge. You might use a little of this goop, which is good flexible stuff, up above the cartridge to hold it in there. And once that sets, then you can basically push it right into the tone arm, if you're lucky. In this case, that's what I did here, and it works very well.
Great idea.
Now, I'd like to hear from anybody who's been there, done that.
That's not a whole lot different than a lot of the Japanese cartridges they were using back in the 70s.
Which would be glued in?
Well, some of them glued in, some of them had little either plastic or metal barbs that you push them in and they would barb themselves.
Force fit, yes.
Or some of them had a little clip that would hold on the front. I've used those. I buy those cartridges from our red friends over there. I buy them in bulk in a big tray, and I wind up paying like $1.50.
The old ones.
The red.
No, those.
Do you want
Oh, these guys, yeah. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times we'll get turntables that come in with some spares.
Right now,
And
those
how I
cartridges. There's two versions of them. One of them has a metal cantilever, and one of them has a plastic cantilever. The metal cantilever cartridges are substantially better and actually sound better than half of the original ceramic cartridges.
Yeah, I've only seen the plastic ones.
The story with those is that is based on a Japanese design from the late 70s, early 80s. That cartridge that was standard in most of the cheaper Japanese-built record players.
P188.
I can't think of the company that made the record transports. Tanishin, I think it was. That was the standard cartridge that used to come in it. The Chinese, like everything else, copied it, and they actually work pretty well. I use them in a lot of stuff. Now, there was a clip originally that mounted it. That was the standard 1/2" mount that filled a lot of toners. They're impossible to get. But I've done all kinds of creative things to mount them and everything from stuff like that to 45 players. And they're resilient.
I've only done a couple of these using that technique.
Pretty good.
What about
And
the
it just
wiring?
seems to work.
What about the wiring? You run into issues getting the pinouts of the wires to the actual cartridge?
Well, this is a stereo cartridge. It's a mono player. You just,
bond them together.
Yeah, take the left and the right and run them together. In this case, I have a little couple-inch extension using a set of wires. It's you don't want to solder directly to the cartridge.
That's what I was going to say. So how did you actually attach the wires from the...
As I said, I used a sort of junction piece,
Okay.
which enabled me to take the two, the left and the right, and bring them together. But
They have
a couple
pins.
inches offset from the actual
Sometimes
cartridge.
they come with pins. You solder the pins and you push them in.
Anyway, got this written up as a little cartoon here if anybody's
And the output's
interested.
adequate for.
And the player works, so if you want to play.
Is it solid state this time? Solid state?
They'll work on anything except for like one
Yeah, it's
tube.
not tubes.
Yeah, it's like usually one tube. They'll have a normal RCA 45 volt.
Okay, we're gonna auction off this,
$1, Bob.
this is one of the ultimate tube testers.
So just before I do this, I got to say, Bob, you mentioned about having burning a problem when you try to clear the earwax with the soldering iron burning your ear. My solution is to use your truck key. That works better. You don't burn yourself.
You heat it up first, right?
So most people who know me think I'm a pretty cheap SOB.
Frugal.
It's kind of true. But occasionally I spend money. So occasionally I see something I want or that I can justify spending money on. And so, you know, if there's a product that I think is really worth what somebody's asking for, and I'll buy it. And this is my famous expression, well, I've had vehicles that cost less than that, and most of the vehicles I've owned cost less than this thing. Nobody made a tube tester since the 80s. The last tube testers that were made were the B&K 747s. Then they stopped making them about 85 or so. And that was the quote-unquote solid-state tube tester. So a few years ago, there's a gentleman who decided to come up with the ultimate tube tester. It kind of is. It's called an Amplitrax, and it was originally targeted at the high-end audio market. Although it's not entirely, because it also does a lot of transmitting tubes. It does a lot of tubes that we use commonly. The only shortfall of it really is that it doesn't do the higher voltage AA5, the 50 volt and the 35 volt, because, and I know the reason, because that wasn't his target market, and to get the extra windings on the transformer probably would have been prohibitive. So basically what it is a computer-driven tube tester. And it has its range of sockets on it, and it has a menu in here, and you actually scroll through the menu through the different tubes, and it comes up on the screen here. Right? And it goes through the different tubes. Now, when you get to the tube you want to test, and I'm going to test one, you would hit enter. It'd tell you which socket to put it in, right? For instance, if you're testing a tube that had different iterations, like a 6L6, for instance, that goes from the original 6L6G to the metal, to the B, and to the GC, it actually gives you the different maximum plate voltages. Now, what's special about this tester, and what I thought was really spectacular about it, is that it tests the tubes at rated plate voltage, at rated load, and puts a signal on the tube.
That's cool.
And it actually tells you the current draw of the tube as if you put it into, with an output tube, as you put it in a circuit, so you could match them without having to put them into, okay? In addition, it has a USB port on it. You can hook it up to a computer. You can plot curves. You can control the tube tester from the computer. You can write your own data for tubes that aren't in there. The tube data is in a form, and you can put different data in there if you want to add tubes to it, although it has a lot of tubes in it. And you can also print labels to go on the tubes through the software if you have the little Dymo label printer. Well, you can print them on regular paper, but it's actually set up to print them on the Dymo. And you can even connect it directly to the label printer if you wanted to. I bought it because I'm in the tube business, and so it justified for me to make the purchase, and I did get a good deal on it. It is just a phenomenal tester, and I was skeptical because I don't generally think that a lot of the audio stuff marketed today is, this is the real deal. It's a great tube tester, and it not only, what I did is I put a 45 in it.
45? It'll do a 45?
I'm sure.
But it won't do double-ended tubes, right?
What's that?
Double-ended, it won't do like a double-ended tube, whether, the grid.
Yes, it does. Yeah, you have your grid cap, your plate cap. The tester is capable of testing a lot of tubes that it doesn't have sockets for. So for instance, you take like a VT4 211, right? I made an adapter that plugs in, and he'll sell you the adapter, but I just make them. Because you look at the chart for where it puts out the voltage, and you look in your tube magnet, and you just make the adapter. And it'll test a big VT4C. It'll test a lot of your sweep tubes. As long as they're 6, 12, whatever, it'll be good.
What's the highest
do 2A3s
that will do, Darren?
I think it does 450 or 600. I forget.
Can you
No,
check
heater
your grid?
voltage. Heater voltage.
Oh, heater voltage.
Not plate voltage, heater voltage.
I think it goes up to 12 volts.
Oh, okay.
What about 50
Okay,
volts?
No, it does. That was the only shortcoming, and I like I said, I realized why they did that, because it probably would have been prohibitive to get the extra windings. And really, who needs that level of test for a 50L6? That was the thinking, I think, is that that wasn't the market audience. It was more for the audio and the higher end transmitter.
Windings of that transformer that you can get 2.5 volts to that too.
What's that?
For the heater.
Yes, it does do 2A3s. It does all the 2 volt. Yeah.
iTubes, can you check iTubes?
Yes, that's the. I should have brought one. The iTube test is phenomenal. It'll test the iTube, it'll warm it up, and it'll start operating the iTube. And it'll run the iTube if it's a multi-section iTube. If it does like an EM84, it runs all the iTubes through their ranges, right? I tested a 6T5 on it, so the 6T5 doing.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a really good tester, and part of why I bought it was because if you sell tubes online, the boutique, the expensive tubes and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
People have the gold standard used to be the TV7 or the 539, and that's still good. But if you really want to get them to come running, if you show them that it was tested on this, and you can tell them what your plate current and everything else is, or you sell a matched pair, they really like that.
Sure.
And the other thing about it is, I have tested tubes on the better Hickox, and I test them on this. And they'll test okay, they'll test good on the Hickok. You test them on this, it shows you that they're not as good as you. They're not bad. The Hickok is generally accurate, but it really puts a tube through its paces.
Wow.
So I'm going to test the 45 for you guys, so you see it actually. I'll go through how it.
Darren, where is it made?
Some guy's
I think
basement.
he's out west in the Midwest somewhere. They're made here.
You're saying he.
Yeah, the gentleman who makes them.
So
I don't know if he has people who work for him, but the gentleman, I can't remember his name. He pretty much is a one-man show.
It's a boutique.
Did you have to wait for it?
I bought it secondhand.
Oh, okay.
I paid a fair amount for it, but I did get it, secondhand.
Right.
And I actually have owned 2 of them. And I sold the first one because it was an earlier revision. This was a newer revision that came along, so I sold the first one I had. I should have kept both of them, but just because you're doing a lot of tubes, it's nice to have a pattern. But I think the retail now is up to about $2,400.
Okay.
So it's not cheap. But again, if you're doing a lot of sales like I do of higher end tubes, it doesn't take long before the thing is really paid for itself. So I justified it that way.
Well, it craps out for some reason.
Yes, he services them. Yep. I've had issues. They're very helpful. So, do I have complaints about it? Yeah, his 4-pin socket is not the best in the world, and you got to be careful because the accuracy of the holes, you could put a tube in the wrong way. But they tried with this, and I've had this apart because it's very well protected. It's got multiple fuses. If the tube is shorted, it'll go into protect mode. It'll say B+ off, over current, And I have blown a fuse on it, no big deal. You lift it out, you change it. It is built like a piece of military gear inside. It's got heavy fiberglass circuit boards. He used American parts wherever he could. The whole top of this is aluminum plate. It's really, really well built. The switches are like the old IBM keyboard switches, the buckling spring switches. So I just selected a 45. It tells you insert tube into socket A, which is what I did. And you hit enter, and it goes into warm-up mode, and it actually counts down to warm-up. So for these big directly heated tubes, it's a 10-second warm-up.
Does it check for shorts?
Yes. Right, and it's going to warm the tube up. It's counting down. Now it's going to turn the B plus on. It's it's set to fixed bias. Now you can set it to fixed bias or automatic bias. I use fixed bias because you get your. And here you go. It shows plate 1 is pulling 28.4 milliamps right now. Now when I test tubes, I let them sit in there at voltage. For output tube, I let it sit there for 5 minutes. Let it heat up. See if there's any gas, right? So you let it go. It bobbles around a little bit. You hit that. Now it's going to do a gas test. And it says, please wait. It's doing the test.
Does it check for grid leak?
Yep. And you hit enter. And then it gives you the results. See? Heater to cathode leakage is 0, right?
Wow.
It shows you your spec, your plate spec, and what your action, what the spec is, and then it shows you what your tube is doing. Okay, and the grid. And this one shows you it's at 79% emission, 82 GM, and it's 0.2 milliamps gas, which for an output tube is well within spec. They say, generally speaking, for the larger output tubes, anything below 3-4 milliamps gas is, it could be a new tube to do that. When you start seeing 15, 20 milliamps gas, that's where they have issues. Also, if you let the tube sit in there and really warm up, a lot of times that gas will go down. Also, a lot of times it'll go up and you'll really get an indication of how bad your tube is.
So you check for noise?
Yes. So you got a headphone socket here, and you got an amplifier volume control here. So you plug in it's a stereo headphone. You're not even high impedance like the old TV7. You plug a stereo set of headphones into there, and you got to be careful because you can hurt your ear. You can listen for noise, especially like something like the 12AX7.
Yeah.
Right. And the 12AX7, this will go through multiple. It'll tell you testing seconds because there's multiple sections of the tube. Right. So it's a really. I'm very impressed with the thing. I've had one for like 4 years now, and
very cool.
Yeah,
From what you're saying now, it's an easy item to use.
It's a child could use it. The basic test. If you want to do curves and stuff, it's a little more complicated. I really haven't used it that much for that. And like I said, you can control it with the computer. You can put in new tube data from your computer and upload it.
So if you brought this to one of our the swap meets and plugged it in somehow, and we brought, say I brought you a couple of tubes that I've got 6973, some other shit that I want to check, would you be able to do that, and what would you charge?
Yeah, I could do that. That's not a problem. Yeah,
you could do that.
6973s are awful things.
I know.
Horrible tubes.
They're in
the jukeboxes and guitars.
Amplifiers,
It's a GE tube. It was.
Piece of shit.
Half of the new ones are made.
CZ5s.
Yeah, that's similar.
How many editions of this?
Don't hold back. Just say what you really feel.
They're horrible tubes. They're horrible. They're 6973s. One of my shit list tubes. Sorry, that's what I call them. There's a handful of tubes that
6x4.
Yeah.
And 6x5.
8417, 7591. It's a better tube, but they're prone to shorts. Yeah.
So how many renditions have you making?
So there have been renditions. Now, one of the reasons I got rid of the last one and upgraded was there was issues with the earlier ones. And I don't know the details. Matt could probably tell me in a second. But there was an issue with the USB ports and newer computers that they didn't.
Oh, they probably have USB 2 or 3.
I knew Matt would know the answer, but yeah, there was a handshake issue with the USB port. This has the new USB.
Looks like the most recent firmware from 2009.
Yeah, but they could. He'll upgrade that for you. You have to pay for it, and they sell all the adapters. I built most of my own. But
can you check voltage regulators with it?
Yeah, it does all kinds of stuff. It does
There's a list
rectifier.
of, it has the list of the tubes on the website.
I've never tried.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never really needed to.
957.
You have to make an adapter, I'm sure. I don't know if they're loaded in there or not, but yeah. And then once you test it, you can test again. It actually asks you, or you say no and you go back. It's what we used to call
957 is not on the list.
with we used to call this with machinery. We used to do CNC conversational. So basically, the tube tester, it's conversational. So it gives you a prompt and you say yes or no, and it's kind of back and forth. Like it's very easy to do.
Heuristic.
What's that?
Heuristic.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
test 01A is.
yeah, you have an adapter.
There's another one that goes on the job.
So anybody have any other questions about it? Or?
They're still around today, they're still manufacturing.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, I think they're around $2,400. It even comes in this nice Pelican style case.
Are they custom made or is the?
Nathan's.
So he's still making these new?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. He usually has a few of them on hand. I think he builds them as, but there's a lot of them around. A lot of people have them.
Why not?
And like I said, people in the tube business have them. And for the price, I mean, if you're doing a lot of the expensive tubes, it pays for itself pretty quickly.
From what you've seen, like the reliability and whatever, is it worth buying a used one? You think about
Never
that?
had trouble with either of them. That if you see how they're constructed, if I were to open this up, and like I said, I had to change the fuse once, and that was because of a tube.
1 year warranty.
It's built as well as anything today, probably better than most things. Better than it's built on the level of aviation or military electronic stuff. Yeah.
It's impressive.
Actually, I don't know how he builds them like he does for the price he sells them for. To be honest with you, that's a little surprising to me.
Should cost more, huh?
I know what it costs to make stuff, and I know what parts cost and labor. I mean, he made the boards. There's multiple boards in there. It's got the power supply, the transfer. It's very well constructed.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a great show and tell.
Yeah.
I think, Neville, our last contestant.
All right, give me a second to get into character here.
Certainly. Are you going to speak with a Russian accent?
No, I'm going to speak with a fake German accent.
Oh.
So it's 1943.
All right, pay attention, guys.
Okay.
Belgium, Poland, France have been overrun by the N folks. I can't use the real word. We'll get thrown off YouTube if I use the real word. And things are happening in Britain, and those N folks would really like to know what the heck's going on over there in Britain. They see a few things, they believe some of it, they don't believe others. And me, as possibly an expat from Britain and being a German, I had decided to go back to Germany when everything hit the fan. And I was contacted, shall we say, by the Abwehr, and told, we're going to send you back to old Britain there, and you're going to spy for us. So I went to their schools and trained up to be a spy, and they gave me a radio and taught me how to use the Morse code. That radio came in a, nice wood case. Really nice wood case. And they sent me off on a fast boat to England. I was supposed to be met by a nice reception committee. Well, that reception committee didn't turn out to be quite so friendly. And I was given a choice of Wadsworth Prison and a hangman's rope, or work for the Brits. So being a pragmatic person, I decided to, I'll flip sides. What the hell? So they set me up with my nice wood case radio, and they knew all about me because they had, as we found out later, broken all the codes, and set me up with my radio over here, which we'll turn on and we'll make contact with. And of course, they've got Rich here as my minder, making sure that he knows and I know all the code words that we use to make sure that our friends, the N friends, think that I'm still genuine, but really I've been being given tidbits by the Brit folks. Some of it's true, some of it's not true. See what happens. So they gave me back my nice wood case radio. And inside that case is a manufactured by the OKW. It's an SE-109 3-tube receiver, 1-tube transmitter, and it operates from batteries or AC plug-in. And well, all right, this is a reproduction because the real ones are impossible to get. They're rich. But anyway, so we hook up our antenna here. We hook up our antenna. And we hook up the ground. Let's see if I can trip over the wiring as I usually do here.
Walt, grab your lunch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Frank.
Careful with that, careful with that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little trouble with the camera. This thing is not that big. All right, so we find a local friendly power socket and plug in. And turn him on here.
LEDs, huh?
And oh yeah, this is, you know, magical 47 pilot lamp. And see if we can get something to happen here. So turn up the regen here until we get a little oscillation. And tune around on the 40-meter handband to see if we can hear anybody.
Is that what this was for? 80 or 40?
Now the original tuned up to about 5.7 and down to 3.3 megahertz. And I band threaded this thing for 40 meters. And it seems like 40 meters has gone dead. I had W1, AW1 here. But anyway, so we would send our message and maybe fool our N folks over there on the other side of the pond. And if anybody would like to come see this, come on down and we'll pop the top off. It has a key. This is a 3-watt transmitter or thereabouts, and the key's on the front. And
that's cool.
It's
Ned?
Yes.
Did you have a little slideshow you were going to show us?
Yes, so if we can pop up the first slide here, if Rich, can you pop up our first slide? Pop the projector on. Unmute the video. There we go. There we go. So this is a real one, all right? This is a real one, and you can see photos of this thing, and it's cryptomuseum.com. And there are very few of these things actually around because both of them ended up, or they built about 500 of them. They ended up in the hands of hams in Germany and various other places. And then come post-war, and that little problem with East and West Germany, and folks still trying to figure out what's going on. So a lot of them got pressed back into service. So pop our next slide here. Hit a down arrow.
Yeah.
Hit a down arrow on the keyboard. Okay, whoops. All right, well, that's a good one.
Use your imagination.
There we go. All right. So this thing was developed during World War II, 1942. They built them in 1943, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce all the German in there, but they got used after the war, also in the East and West German thing.
Wow.
So pop up the next slide there. So it got called the biscuit tin because of the way it's constructed, which is a top and bottom cover pressed onto a chassis, a wraparound chassis. Transmits from 3.2 to 6.5 megahertz, all in one band on the receiver. The transmitter is a little different, 3.3 to 7.5 in one band. It uses a very interesting battery tube, very, very low filament current, and it's basically 4-stage in 3 tubes. It's an RF amp combined with a first audio tube in reflex, a regen detector, and then an audio output for headphones. Its transmitter tube is a single tube, crystal controlled, puts out about 3 watts. The receiver runs on 90 volts and 1.5 volts. Transmitter 1.5 and 270, which is pushing the hell out of the tube, or on an AC supply. And the real ones, well, they're extinct. If you want to buy one, there's one on eBay now for a cool 10 grand. So, next slide here. So this is the inside of a real one. The 3 tubes are in the receiver on the left, the black things, and there's a tuning capacitor, right angle drive, and a scale, 0 to 180. Thing on the right there is the transmitter. We've got a little coil for the output stage. The tube is buried underneath. A little meter here at the bottom. And the 3 knobs on the right are for antenna tuning, antenna loading, and a crystal switch, which you could run it on a couple different frequencies. And there's more detail on that website if you'd like to have a look. So pop the next slide. So here's the circuit of the thing. The tube in the middle is the regen detector. And the first tube on the left is the RF amplifier, which then feeds the regen detector. The regen detector then goes back through the RF amplifier as a first audio, and then that goes back passed on to the tube on the right, which is the audio output. The whole thing runs on about 2 milliamps at 90 volts. It's pretty darn sparing transmitters. So next slide is the transmitter, which is this interesting tube which is just not available at all today. Single tube, self-oscillator, crystal control, with a bit of monitoring for the antenna current so you can tune the thing up. And the next slide.
What tube did you use?
Yeah, what'd you substitute?
Well, I'll get there. All right, so how do you reproduce one of these things? Well, it helps to have some junk sheet metal around and, you know, a few bits of machine shop in your basement, a big vise and other such things. So the original tubes, well, they're pretty much unobtainable. The receiver tubes occasionally show on eBay, but they're expensive as hell. The transmitter tube is just plain extinct. I think they used all of them up in the 50s. But a 1U4 is a pretty close substitute for the receiver tube. And there's a gentleman in Germany who found that a certain Russian tube was a pretty good substitute for the unobtainable transmitter tube. And indeed, lots of those got made, and you can actually buy them today on eBay. So next slide. So just plain collect parts, years and years of junk box collecting. The right angle drive for this thing came from Kutztown this year. And a bit of reverse engineering, trying to figure out what the inductances are, and I mostly got it right. It still needs a little bit more work. Al came up with a couple of 1U4s, thank you very much. And I ordered a collection of these 1P24 transmitting tubes all the way from Ukraine in the middle of a war. I'm amazed that they could actually supply such things and get them here in a reasonable amount of time.
Don't worry, we're getting ready to give them $50 billion, so I think that'll cover it.
That'll cover both.
That's why I keep selling stuff to Ukraine on eBay. I don't know.
All right, next slide.
I believe it.
So to do my little duplicate here, the top and bottom covers happen to be taken from a DVD case, which is absolutely perfect sized. I bent up the chassis from a bunch of found aluminum, you know, just find it behind the shear at work, we don't tell anybody. I added a bit of I band spread the thing for the ham bands because everything else would be, you get arrested for it, so, you know, you can use it on the ham bands. And yeah, there's some dicky caps and modern carbon comp resistors in there, even 3D printed knobs. And a couple of weeks of work, and the power supply, well, you know, I cheated. It's got a heretical design of transistors and even an IC. Yeah, it's just a power supply. All right, next slide. So here's the inside of mine. It looks a bit like the original. And I'll pop the covers off here at the end so folks can come around and have a look-see what it looks like.
Where'd you
find the meter? Years and years of collecting. You know?
I was waiting for this.
Sort of like the real thing. So, next slide. So how well does this thing work? Well, that design that they did in 1942 is a fabulous receiver. With the RF amp, first of all, the receiver doesn't re-radiate, which is how they caught a lot of folks and British folks who had been sent over to France. You can hear the radiation from the oscillating detector for Morse code. It's pretty stable with operating voltage. Doesn't move around when you mess with the antenna. It's a very well done design. I had very little changes to get the thing to work pretty well. I copy a couple microvolts, 40 meters, no problem with the thing. Transmitter output works pretty well. It's a little bit of a harmonic, but if you're careful tuning it up, it's okay. But it is a far better piece of kit that the Germans produced to use for their little spy work than the Brits did with the Mark 7, which is kind of they call it a sealing wax and bailing string design, which I've also built last year. This is a far better device. So if you want to see one in action, gentleman by the name of Helg, I'm not even going to attempt his last name, Fix. You got to turn those last two syllables around. So anyway, he has a real one. He operates it in a YouTube video, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Very cool.
So that
how many hours in that?
I'm sorry? Oh, you know, a couple, 3 weeks, evenings. I was kind of thinking of building this thing, and then Rich goes, show and tell is coming up. Uh-oh, I better get my act together.
Time and not enough money.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Pop the next slide. Could be. That's all. I think 40 meters went dead or something here. We're not getting anything.
I'm glad that we did leave you and put you in the last, because everybody else would have been the hell out of here.
Well, Darwin is hard to keep up with that beautiful tube tester. No.
That's cool.
That's
all right.
To build something like this, you're a master craftsman.
But I didn't build the tube tester, I bought the tube tester.
We had no idea it existed.
You gotta get the sticker for this, it's built, not bought.
Yeah.
So come on up, have a look, see.
Nice.
Very cool.
On a transmitter, they use the variable bore crystal.
It's only crystal control.
So you got
I
a bunch
was
of crystals
clear. Yeah, you would have had a pocket full of crystals, and the original one had 2 fixed crystals built in. So that's the top side. You got the receiver on the bottom side here.
Oh, yeah. So you had to make this up special, so.
Yeah.
All right, folks, just to reiterate, what you see outside on the tables there are free and to go. And they must go.
So
everything out there must go. Again, the little coffin underneath the table is usually spoken for by Terry Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
We were meeting here on July 12th, 2024, and Jonathan Allen will be giving us his presentation on the museum that he's working in right now. Okay. So thanks so much for coming out tonight. I was nervous. What's that?
Here in July, the whole summer.
Yes, the whole summer. This is our spot. Thank goodness. Thanks for
Never know. I still have the Christmas party trophy from 117 by 6. I said keep waiting. Even a talking house.
That has this actually, and that's basically a 50 of 6.
Right.
So you can
telephone tubes in it. I don't know why they went. That's the British one, right, that I did last year.
There's something in that.
We talked about this. That's my balance.